So hi and good afternoon, everyone. This is Sabrina Tang from Hong Leong Bank, and I'll be your host for this session. Welcome to Hong Leong Bank's 6th Sustainability Roundtable. Today's virtual roundtable will be on the topic of the chemical manufacturing industry, its environmental and social risks and opportunities. If you have any questions for the panelists, kindly use our dedicated Slido, which you can access by scanning the QR code at the top left of the screen. Alternatively, you can access the Slido feature by clicking on the URL available in the YouTube description below. While we will be addressing most of the questions during the Q&A session, we may address some of them during the panel discussion when appropriate. Please note that we shall try to address as many questions as we can, depending on the availability of time. Now let's meet our panelists for today's session. So first off, we have with us today Ms. Umarani Muniandi, who's currently the Executive Director of the Manufacturing Development Department at the Malaysian Investment Development Authority, or better known as MIDA. MIDA is the country's principal investment promotion agency responsible for the development, promotion, and coordination of the manufacturing and services sectors in Malaysia. At MIDA, Ms. Umrani oversees the development of the Chemical and Advanced Materials Division, Life Sciences and Medical Technology Division, Food Technology and Resource-Based Industries Division, and the Circular Bioeconomy Unit. She has held various roles in MIDA over the last 30 years, and prior to her present role, Ms. Umrani served as the Director of MIDA Singapore. Her experience and knowledge has enabled her in spearheading industrial development strategies, marketing campaigns, or assisting businesses to leverage on the various incentives available for their project implementations. So next with us, we have three panelists from the Chemical Industries Council of Malaysia, CICM. CICM is the umbrella body representing the various subsector chemical groups ranging from oleochemicals, paints, fertilizers, petrochemicals, agriculture chemicals, and coating resins. Representing the group is Yang Berbahagia Dr. Toto Abdul Habis Abdullah, Chairman of CICM. Joining him is Mr. Paul R. Ellis, Deputy Chairman of CICM, who serves as the Chairman of CICM's Responsible Care Committee. And to add on, he is the Managing Director of Schaeffler Corp Malaysia as well. Besides that, he is also a Fellow of the Institute of Chemical Engineers and currently the President of the International Lime Association. Following that, we have Dr. Mota bin Hashim, Executive Director of CICM. He's also a Fellow of the Institution of Chemical Engineers, Chairman of MECA Group, and Advisor to Wakomas Chemicals. Besides that, speaking as well is Associate Professor T.S. Dr. Lee Kai-en, the Head of the Research Center for Sustainability Science and Governance, Institute for Environment and Development at University Kembang Angsar, Malaysia, UKM. Before joining UKM as an academic staff, he worked in US-based multinational companies, coordinating quality, environmental, health and safety management systems for the corporate. His expertise is in green technology and sustainability management, and he has published more than 150 research articles in index journals, books, and proceedings. Last but not least, we have our moderator for today's panel discussion, Mr. Nick Sharizal Sulaiman, Partner of Risk Assurance Services, PwC Malaysia. Nick Sharizal is a partner and the Islamic finance leader of PwC Malaysia and has over 18 years of experience in the assurance and advisory profession. He was trained in the United Kingdom as a chartered accountant prior to joining PwC Malaysia in 2007. Nick has been involved in a wide range of work in the industry from strategy, governance, internal audit, and risk management. So all right, before we go into the panel discussion, I'd like to welcome Yang Berbahagia, Dr. Toto Abdul Habis Abdullah, to give a brief presentation on the Responsible Care Program and sustainability initiatives in Malaysia's chemical manufacturing industry. Okay, Dato', the floor is all yours. Sorry, Tato, can you please unmute yourself? Sorry about that.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah,
let me start. Dah banyak aku cakap. I don't know whether you heard what I've been saying, but what I've been telling you all is that chemical industry is one fantastic industry in the world right now. Setting aside, but just to start off with, the chemical industry in Malaysia and also globally has always been operating in what we call a sustainable type mode of operation. And this is basically using the principle of responsible care. And this all stemmed up back in 1984, when we had a disastrous incident in Bhopal. Oh, by the way, that was not from my area, okay? Just to let you know. I'm isolated in this room right now. And responsible care in India, and the responsible care program started off back in 1985 after the incident in 1984. And this is a theme that I would like to bring about in this session when we have it in this Hong Leong Sustainability Roundtable session going forward. Next slide, please. Can I go to the next slide, please? Okay, just a little bit about CICM. We were established in 1978, and we have an affiliation of 6 subsectors in the chemical group in Malaysia, membership of over 100 companies, both comprising of manufacturers, traders, distributors, and companies that provide services in the chemical industry. We have a vision, and the vision is basically to champion the sustainable growth for the chemical industry, and then to be recognized as a body for the promotion of sustainable chemical industry in Malaysia. And our pillars are basically governed by 3 factors, 3 pillars. And the pillar number 1 is responsible care, as I've highlighted earlier. Of course, the second piece is on regulatory and standards, whereby we require a lot of interactions with the government agencies in Malaysia. And finally, business support and development that we can render to our members and in the industries as a whole. If you can go to the next slide, please. Chemistry plays an essential role in the driving progress across all 3 dimensions of development, sustainable development, environment, social, and economic, and helping to address and overcome the world's most pressing sustainability challenges. I think that's a strong statement, and we live by that statement going forward, which leads to the next point, the next slide, which is on responsible care. I've mentioned earlier on responsible care, we started back in 1985. Can you go to the next slide, please? It's a voluntary initiative, and the key word here is voluntary, by global industries to drive continuous improvement in safe chemical management and achieve excellence in environmental health, safety, and security performance. Here, what I like to highlight is that because it's voluntary, trying to get most companies in the chemical industry to abide by our standards is going to be a challenge. It has been an ongoing challenge since from day one until today. It's also a challenge because we do need support and effort together with the government agencies to try to enforce certain principles that we think is important in order for the industry to sustain its growth process going forward. Responsible care contributed to most of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. While industry's contribution to sustainable development will evolve, responsible care will remain the foundation for the industry to industry's commitment to sustainability. That's the reason why we are focusing today on responsible care for Malaysia specifically, and how it basically then evolve into becoming a more comprehensive ESG type policies that will be hopefully in play in the near future. And finally, it enables the industry to innovate products, implement practices that can make life better, healthier, safer for people around the world, from protecting workers' safety, enhancing high-quality employment opportunities, and engaging and supporting plant communities to developing products that benefits society. Next slide, please. The commitment of all those that are responsible care signatories is that chemical manufacturers, National Chemical Industry Association, and their partners commit to enable a corporate leadership culture, safeguard people and the environment, strengthen chemical management systems, work with business partners, engage with stakeholders, contribute back to sustainability. That's our commitment. Why is this, next slide please, why is this essential? Basically, it will help minimize costs and contribute to bottom line. It reduces risk, costs due to fewer accidents and incidents, lower insurance costs and liability exposure, reduced fines and penalties that could be imposed on the companies by the authorities. License to operate, we earn respect. Relations with plant neighbors and government and authorities respected in the community and the industry. And then it is also important that we have ability to sell, license to sell, and contribute to sustainability, improve standards and quality, lower environment footprint and impact, support social sustainability elements. And finally, equity value of brand and global community, respected by global community, goes beyond minimal regulations and systems and continual improvement approach. That is why it is essential. Next slide, please. In essence, responsible care is in the life cycle of the chemicals, from the start, raw materials, until recycle and treatment. It's a complete circle. And to me, this is important for us to make sure that it's sustainable as we move forward on this basic. And the codes, there are 10 guiding principles that governs this circle, and it's all listed in the slide in there, and I don't have to go through that for your reading later on. Now, my last slide. Next slide, please. Improving the sustainability performance, basically we want to expanding safe and sustainable management and use of chemicals throughout the global value chain. Okay, improving industry sustainability practice, holding ourselves accountable, protecting environment by supporting efforts to reduce and manage waste as our environment, including land, ocean, water sources are not polluted with mismanaged plastic or other materials. Tracking process through metrics to help continuously improve our performance. Ensuring safety of our workers, the communities where we operate, and our products. Reducing GHG emissions in the manufacturing and use of our products. Improving availability, performance, and cost effectiveness of renewable energy, clean drinking water, energy, and enabled by chemistry, elevating the quality of life for people around the world through technologies that improve health and wellness, enable food security, reduce pollution, increase access to clean water, and provide comfortable shelter. Empowering community leaders and helping build capacity to enhance safe chemicals management, and promoting innovation in product design and product reuse and repurposing and recycling. These are hopefully will be delivered in due time. One of the key challenges that we have in Malaysia in particular is to make sure that all chemical players do at least abide by this responsible care philosophy or codes or practices. It has been a challenge for us in trying to get that going, and mainly because majority of the players that we have in Malaysia are the SMEs. And these SMEs are the ones that need a lot of hand-holding going forward. And hopefully CICM, with the support and help from the Hong Leong Bank and those other panelists on this call will be able to help CICM in trying to enlist SMEs in the chemical sector to be abiding or be part of the responsible care program. To that, thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation, Dato'. So I believe that has helped to set the scene for today's topic, which is on the environmental and social standards in the Malaysian chemical manufacturing sector. So enough with the wait. I will now pass the time over to Nick to moderate the session. So over to you, Nick.
Hi, thank you very much. Thank you to Hong Leong for inviting me and also the panelists to this session today. Before I start, I'd just like to say good afternoon and greetings to all of you, everyone who's watching this session right now. We have a very exciting forum today. With me, I have panelists who come from diverse set of backgrounds, not just from the industry, but also from media and also, from the academic profession. The topic of our discussion today is we'll be looking at the ESG issues within the chemical manufacturing industry. Chemical manufacturing industry is a large part of our economy. Based on my research, it contributes close to 30% of our exports and also imports. So definitely it is a large part of our GDP activities. Okay, so without further ado, I will kickstart the discussion by inviting Ms. Umarani, or Uma, as I understand, would like yourself to be addressed. Uma, maybe can we start, if you can provide us with a bit of overview, your perspective about the industry. How important is the chemical manufacturing industry in Malaysia? What is the policy direction and what is your view about the current trends? Can you give us some of your insights, please?
Thanks, Nick. Thank you. I hope you can hear me, all of you. Okay. Good afternoon to all. I hope everyone is healthy and safe. It's very good to know that we have kept the momentum going with such online events despite the current pandemic and Omicron going on. Nick, to your question, I kind of concur with Dr. Hafiz. Chemical is a fantastic sector. The industry is a fantastic industry because you see all around us, you look around you can never miss at least one in your table you are touching, there'll be chemical. The bottle that you take water, there'll be chemical. The book that every part of our life we have chemical in it. So for the government, we recognize this, and Malaysian government more so. We have abundance of oil, natural resources like oil and gas, palm oil. So there is so much of scope, for us to we have the scope to develop, downstream integration, which we have done quite well over the years. So we have a very strong chemical industry, and this is correctly pointed out. If you are aware of our Malaysian plan, 11th Malaysian plan, there were only 3 industry sectors which were selected to be the catalytic industry sector, and chemical industry is one of it. Why? Because they know that chemical is needed in every other sector. So you also mentioned about chemical being a key contributor to our GDP, which is absolutely true. In average, a year, it contributes about 4% to our GDP. It also creates a lot of job opportunities, like, about 400 over 1,000 people in this chemical sector. More so, chemical industry is an industry which gives job opportunities for knowledge workers, because the minimum you can, in chemical industry, you need to have some amount of knowledge as well. So it's not a labor intensive kind of industry. That's something, and it also attracts export revenue. Yes, that's also something which I like to impress here. And in terms of like in MIDA, we approve investments. In MIDA, chemical industry, we have grouped about 6 subsectors, just how in CICM. So there are some downstream sectors which are under our purview. For an example, plastic, rubber, petroleum, products, petrochemicals, oleochemicals. These are all big subsectors. In fact, we are doing well in some of these, very well in some of these subsectors. For an example, like oleochemical, we have a global capacity. 20% of the global capacity comes from Malaysia. Similarly, for petrochemical, we have all these major MNCs. Like, it's not easy to attract a company as of the magnitude of BASF to Malaysia, but we have a strong presence of BASF, and we have our own national oil and gas company, Petronas, as the backbone. Similarly, for oleochemicals also, we have Oleon, a big company. So overall, we are doing quite well in the chemical sector. So moving forward, I think we are quite structured. We have a very structured framework. For the first time, we have a chemical industry roadmap, which we will be launching soon. And they have taken into consideration, I mean, there are 5 aspirations of this roadmap. And one of it is, of course, to improve sustainability, and increase the product competitiveness, have more downstream integration, and so on. So the trend is towards that, in the chemical industry.
Great, wonderful. Thank you very much for your insights. So for my next question, I would like to invite you, Dr. Lee. I understand that you've written more than 150 articles, which is an amazing achievement, on this particular topic. So Umar mentioned about how big the industry is. We have a structured roadmap. It employs a lot of people. My question to you is, what are the challenges that you can see, in the context of the evolving trends that we see around the world? Now, I'm not as much of an expert as you are, but I get the sense that the paradigm is shifting a bit. People, stakeholders are a lot more sensitive about specific issues, such as waste management, and also people are looking in terms of, how the ESG can be embedded further into the industry. What's your view? I mean, what are the trends, the challenges that you see that you think the industry needs to really adopt and basically work with?
Thank you, Nick, for the questions. What I can see from the context of the entire chemical industries. So back into 2015 until 2020, we actually conducted one research together with CICM. And during back then, we discovered that a few challenges faced by the chemical industry based on the perspective of academia. So one of which is actually the challenge of reporting, right? Because they have so many standards, so many legislation and regulatory that they need to follow and adopt and to comply with. So what we did was we recommended for the companies to actually have the integrated reporting, especially through the ESG framework. We can actually help the chemical industry companies to actually roll out a more integrated kind of reporting, and it will help them to answer to their requirement for all the various regulatory requirements. So this is the main the challenges faced by the chemical industries. So a lot of companies also face another issue is they do not know how to start and where to start for the reporting, especially, right, when they have to deal with such a big amount of information that need to report to all the authorities. So I would suggest that a triple helix model can be adopted, especially a collaboration between the government, the industry, as well as the academia, where we have more than 20 public universities and more than 400 private universities out there that can assist the industry to comply to all these the requirements, especially through the MBA's programs. And nowadays we have a lot of sustainability program being introduced in various universities. All these programs can actually help the industry to build the capacity for their workforce, the management, as well as the decision making. So to help the industry to perform better and to be more sustainable in their operations. I think that's my viewpoints. Back to you, Nick. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Dr. Lee. And later, I would like to explore further in terms of other challenges that you see. Okay, so my next questions, I'm directing this to one of you gentlemen from CICM. So Dr. Lee mentioned reporting as one of the key challenges. My question to you is, do you agree with that statement? And as an industry representative, how do you think the industry can do better on that particular topic?
Dr. Mokhtar, can you take the lead on that one, please?
Dato, if you can unmute, please.
Thank you, Nick, for forwarding the question. And good afternoon, everyone. Okay, as mentioned by Umar earlier, we have the chemical industry had collaborated in various research and trying to get feedback on what's happening in the industry. We've shared that with the sector, the government, and our members. So yeah, in terms of having so many legislations, so many framework that we have to adhere to, that is correct. But again, a properly designed process system, a properly designed chemical plant will have its own standards that meets everything that is required to be met to ensure that the environment is protected. But having said that, we have all the ISOs, the standards to be followed to. Again, these are standards which are regulated and to be inspected by the factories and machinery departments. That was what the DOSH was called earlier, the Department of Occupational Safety and Health. There are inspections. There are a lot of verifications to be done before a plant will operate or process system will operate. But having said that, those are just regulations and inspections to be done and so on. The most important thing I want to stress here is attitude, maintenance of the willingness to be responsible, to produce, to protect the employees, to protect the process system, and everything along the value chain that goes out right up to the interest of the public. So as Dr. Hafiz has mentioned earlier, at CICM, we are upholding, or we are the custodian of a worldwide initiative called Responsible Care. So I don't have to repeat what Responsible Care is all about. We can find it even on Google, or you can read it in our website, what it's all about. It is a more holistic approach to making sure that everything is done in a proper and caring manner, and it protects all the stakeholders, including the community around us. So when we say that a lot of things to be met, a lot of standards to be met, yes, it is true, but all those are again subject to proper enforcement, and it comes back to the attitude or to how we see that in terms of taking care of our own process and the employees, the equipment and the community and the environment, of course. So in short, it all comes back to education, properly giving the message, starting with the owners of the plant, the stakeholders, the shareholders of the plant, the employees of the plant, the managers of the chemical process system. So it starts there, and there are many guidelines within responsible care that require the owners of these facilities to be involved in managing the stakeholders around them, community, the environment, and so on. And there are also self-regulation where they have to look at how they operate and continue to do improvements along the way. So that is a very holistic way of doing things, and we have been advocating that to the chemical community, to our members, and also now we're spreading this message to all the players within the chemical sector in Malaysia.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Mukhtar, for your insights. My next question goes back to you, Umar. I mean, when we talk about ESG, one cannot one cannot avoid the topic of the environment. And whenever people talk about environment nowadays, the topic of greenhouse gas emissions, the topic of waste management, always come to picture. So my question to you is, with regards to emissions and waste management topic, are these key issues within the chemical manufacturing industry? What is your view?
Thanks, Nick, for the question. If we look at chemical industry, it's quite blessed because it started off very much earlier than other industries. Because you have this responsible care, which is a voluntary initiative. Not other industries may not have it. So and when you look at waste itself, you have industrial waste and household waste. So if we were to look at industrial waste and in chemical waste, the schedule waste, there is a method. There's one operator who has been licensed by the DOE in Negeri Sembilan, the Quality Alam, and it is handled well. They are handling about 76 categories of scheduled waste, so that is well handled. Okay, but the other waste managements like recycling and so on, the government of Malaysia through MIDA, we are promoting such activities mainly to protect the environment. So we are giving incentives for companies who are doing recycling activities, let it be recycling of plastic or any other waste. So it's an incentivized activity. Besides that, we also have other incentives in place to encourage green technology. So you may have come across, like, for companies who have incurred cost capex in acquiring assets towards reducing their carbon footprint, there's incentive for that. And also for service providers, we have incentive for that. So with all this and with the Malaysian commitment, just like, being an UN member, we have the commitment to the SDG, and there is a call for all countries who have adopted this SDG Sustainable Development Goals to ingrain into all their national policies the sustainable elements, which I think Malaysia is doing currently. So if you look at even in our 12th Malaysia plan, there is a lot of focus on environmental protection and sustainability. And also in there's going to be new we always have this industrial master plan 1, 2, 3. Following the third one, now we have a new industrial master plan where the sustainability aspect will be given a lot of focus as well. So similarly, we have the national investment aspiration. So what I'm trying to say is government is acknowledging that it's very important. So we are giving incentives and also making sure that we embed in all our national frameworks, all our plans, as well as when investment proposal comes to us. Actually, we are receiving many exciting proposals of late, MIDA. So we are receiving proposals on hydrogen economy. We are receiving proposals on companies who want to do a recycling, of, getting back the same molecular that they are recycling with very high-end technology. So that all this is showing that we are moving upwards, in this sector. So it's very positive movement, actually.
Great, thank you very much. So Umar, you mentioned about technology, which is a very important topic. So my next question is to you, Dr. Lee. I would like to dive in further into the topic of technology and innovation. Now, you've done a lot of research in this area. So in the context of managing waste, in the context of energy efficiency, in the context of emission, has there been any key developments innovation-wise that you've observed from around the world?
Thank you, Nick, for your questions. Yes, a lot of innovation R&D has been conducted, especially in the world of academia, right? And nowadays we have a lot of collaboration between the academia and the industry to develop those green technology, especially to help the industry to solve the carbon emissions issues. Right, so what you can see right now is you can look at the RMK12. Actually, emphasize a lot on the how to reduce the greenhouse gases emission and how to be more responsible in the managing the waste, as well as to how to leverage the green technology, especially in to make sure that the industry is actually can be more sustainable in their operations. So I think come back again to my point just now, right? So I would like to encourage the collaboration between the industry as well as the academia and the government to actually come out with the more localized technology where it could be more feasible, right, and suit the context of the local context and the geographical features, right? So that's my point. Back to you, Nick.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Okay, next question goes back to CICM. So as two previous speakers mentioned, technology is an important element within this whole conversation, and not just in terms of operational efficiency, but also in the context of environmental protection, energy efficiency, and so on. Can one of you provide some insights in terms of how do these technology get procured, and how do they get embedded within the industry? Does CICM play a role in terms of encouraging this technology transfer?
Paul, you want to take care of this, Paul?
Paul, if you can unmute, please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be able to be on the panel and to make some statements. I hear about technology. We, as an industry, are forever under pressure to improve our technology. We have been under that pressure forever. Otherwise, we wouldn't be where we are today. And a lot of that pressure is both internally from within Malaysia, and we are working closely with both universities and other consultants and other companies to improve technology so that we can reduce, reuse, recycle all our products. I'd just like to say that the chemical industry is not just the big players. The big players have a huge impact because they're so big. In places like Malaysia, and it's not just Malaysia, it's throughout the world, there are maybe 10 times as many smaller companies. And these are the companies, SMEs, SMIs, how you ever like to describe them, are the areas where we need to focus on. We need to show these organizations how to actually be sustainable and how to improve their standards so that they can become one, more efficient, one, more effective, and can improve in many, many ways. And I think that the industry can actually be helped, especially SMEs, with respect to other institutions, such as banks. Everybody thinks, well, what have banks got to do with sustainability in the chemical industry? Well, the thing about banks is they can actually help the SMEs. They can help the SMEs and guide them if they are involved with the chemical industry. And we in CICM are very much at a point where we want to help to mentor. We have mentor programs, mentor-mentee programs to help smaller organizations to improve. And this includes not just their standards and their operating procedures, but also their technology and their processes. Let's be very clear. Health, safety, and the environment are not for sale. We need to get on and make it work. So to me, those are very key issues that we need to tackle in the future. And we are, of course, working very closely with the government, with MIDA, with MITI, on how to actually ensure that we get compliance with smaller organizations. So I think I'll stop there because we want the conversation to flow. Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Before I go with my next question, this is to invite any of you listeners who are, if you have any questions, you don't have to wait until later in the session. You can submit your question to the organizer and they will share those questions with me so that I can post those questions back to the panelists. So just a quick reminder. Okay, my next question is, whenever we talk about sustainability, sometimes people also talk about cost, the cost of compliance. And indeed, there are always costs involved whenever any industry really move towards getting better efficiency, complying with certain standard framework and so on. So this question is to CICM. How would you respond to a view which states that complying with sustainability can be costly, and because of that it affects the industry profitability, and therefore we need to get to a level of compromise between protecting the environment and also profitability? How would you respond to a view like that?
Nick, I'll take that, and I hope then Paul will interject, because I know Paul is very passionate about this. When it comes to cost, we got to understand that cost goes both ways. If you don't comply, you don't do things correctly and not sustainably, it's going to cause a major cost to you in terms of having a downtime, injuries, and all that. So our argument is that in order for you to talk about cost, you got to talk it in wholesome. It's either you lose now and then recover later, or you invest now and not have to incur cost later. And that is part of the principle behind responsible care. The key element of responsible care is you need to know what goes in, how it is being processed, and then what goes out. And then you look at the cost in trying to understand that mode of flow. And to me, that is very relevant, and therefore this issue about cost should not be an issue for anybody, including SMEs. Because if they really want to continue with business in the chemical industry, they got to improve their processes to ensure that accidents doesn't happen. And there's a good reflection. Sometime back, I was involved in the discussion with the incident at Sungai in Johor, Sungai Wing. Okay, and that is the issue that until today things are still not resolved, in the sense that if everybody had quote unquote put in the necessary cost element into their production, the spillage that is incurred in Johor might not happen. Now, Paul, I know you are eager to step in, so please come on in.
Yeah, I'm passionate about this. We in the industry will only survive in the future if we actually improve our sustainability and we improve the way we do things. And I know we can do it. And CICM is there to help, to actually promote, and especially to get the SMEs on board. And that covers, health and safety, and it also covers the environment and improving the environment. And I reckon every large one, I know that every large chemical company and even a lot of SMEs, including myself, are involved specifically with technology, new technology, to improve our sustainability, to reduce our CO2 footprint or our environmental footprint, right? And there are many projects going on inside the country to do this. And I do feel that the chemical industry is actually leading the way, because we have been involved in the responsible care program within Malaysia since 1994, and as a globe since 1984. So we came pretty early on, and the responsible care program covers these things. The presentation that Dato' Hafiz made shows quite clearly that we do cover these things, and we actually have programs to help the companies to move forward. And also CICM, we also give awards and things to companies that are following them, and we recognize the effort and work that these companies are doing. So there's a lot going on in sustainability, but I do want to say we need help in certain areas where we want to get especially the SMEs on board. I do stress that because there are many more of them than there are large companies. And we need help from people like the banks and also from the government to help them, really help them to improve. And if we do that, we will have an extremely successful and forward-looking business that will save money and be efficient and effective. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Paul. So Uma, my next question is, you've listened to Paul's point of view earlier. Did you have anything to add on the topic that he raised?
Thanks, Nick. Well, I think Paul has got a point there for SMEs, you see, because cost will be a major issue. At the same time, it's like chicken and egg situation. If a private investor were to invest in a company, they'll also look at the company's commitment towards sustainability. So it's like there's no way out of it for SMEs. So I would say that banks should come in. They should beef up the green financing schemes and so on. Besides, IPAs, investment promotion agencies like MIDA giving all these incentives and grants. So we are committed. MIDA is committed to look at investment proposals. In the past, we have some quality indicators in granting tax incentives, like projects that gives job opportunities, high income jobs or good export revenue, capital, high capital investment. These are some of our regular quality indicators for a project, but showing our commitment towards sustainability, we are giving weight for companies who have shown commitment in improving their production process, in their manufacturing, to reduce the carbon footprint, having, initiatives, in all ways, like to reuse, reduce materials, use better materials, change the product portfolio to produce environmentally friendly products and so on. So these have been taken into consideration for us to award them with good incentives, which in the past it was not in our quality indicator. So I would say, yeah, we do not differentiate whether the company is a major MNC or is an SME, as long as they give a very good projects to the country in terms of moving us up there to go closer to zero carbon footprint. We are more than happy to assist and go out of our way to carve something for them and give them.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so we've spent quite some time talking about the challenges and the risks about waste management and the rest of it. So I would like to look at this from another perspective. How about opportunities? Because whenever we have conversation about ESG, it's not just about cost and compliance, but also the opportunities it presents. So my next question goes to you, Dr. Lee. I mean, from your view, what are the opportunities which the industry can take to arising from this ESG paradigm in ESG?
Okay, thanks, Nick, for the question. So the opportunity that they can take is they actually can take this ESG compliance to make their company to be more responsible and to be more sustainable. As we know, like Dato' Hafiz mentioned just now, this with the incident that happened in the Sungai Kim Kim back in 2 or 3 years or so, right, actually give an impact to the chemical industry. I think this is a wake-up call for all the industry players, where they need to be more responsible in handling the whole process of the operation. So if you look at the current government policies, as well as the RMK12, which another policy which is going to be rolled out the Dasar Alam Sekitar Negara, the National Environmental Policy, the strong emphasis will be given to the health, right? Especially looking into how to ensure the health of not only the human health but also the environment, right? So if you the reason the RMK12 also mentioned that there's a need for the government to look into revising the Environmental Quality Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, as well as the Poison Act, where they can help, right, to promote the health for not only for the company, right, but also the community surrounding the facilities of the premises, right. That's it from me. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. So how about the view from CICM? What are the opportunities that you see arising from this increasing interest in ESG?
For me, taking along what Dr. Lee is saying, it also opens up doors for most chemical players to tap into. They can either come up with new technologies to harness and move forward, or they can then work along with the government agencies and eventually even banks in trying to be more compliant to ESG. However, there's one personal thought though. If you one angle to look at environmental is going green. One of the elements that is strong for Malaysia, if you look at it from a Malaysia context, is we are in abundance of raw material, palm oil, rubber, and all that. And so if we're talking about green, I think companies in Malaysia should start thinking about now I can have access to what I reasonably call green raw material that they can then refine or produce chemicals that comes up from that. So this is an opportunity that if a company in Malaysia, a chemical company is interested to look into that, I think this is an opportunity for them to move forward and do something that is a bit different from what they are currently doing.
Great, thank you very much, Dato'. Okay, so for the next question, we have a number of queries from the audience, and the question is about legislation. So one of the questions is, are there any examples of legislation that promote sustainable business choices? I believe this question is directed to Maida. So Ms. Umar, if you would like to take that question, please.
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer it as a legislation, but as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned that, all our national framework, our national plans, it's aligned towards sustainability. So Malaysia continues to provide a conducive business environment for investors due to its alignment with the SDGs. And investment policies. So as mentioned by Dr. Lee as well, the 11th Malaysia Plan, the 12th Malaysia Plan, and the new IMP, these are all how the country is charting its path towards a developed and high income nation, and sustainability is a big part of it, you see. So our promotions and our initiatives that we'll be undertaking, Maida, will underscore the importance of sustainability in attracting investments. So legislation per se, Department of Environment is taking care of this aspect of, making sure that whatever is manufactured, it's manufactured to protect the environment, is protected, and so on. We being the investment promotion agency, we have factored this environment and sustainability. It has to be the business choice of companies. And we are not going to impose it as a condition, but it would be rewarded. Any proposals that comes to MIDA, it will be rewarded. It will be a very crucial point in us giving better incentives for companies. So I guess if that answers the question, or leave it to others in the panel who may have some answers on that.
Just to add on, Uma, right now, under the leadership of MITI, we are trying to working on what we call a chemical industry roadmap. And under that piece of work is a big section on sustainability. and it requires the industry and the government agency to work hand in hand in trying to move forward with this. And my hope is that hopefully with this, the task team on sustainability will be able to work together with the government agency in developing a good legislative, what I call legislation to move forward on sustainability.
Right.
So it's work in
Right.
progress, by the way.
Yes, yes. This is what I mentioned, when I first started about this chemical industry roadmap. This is the first time ever we are having a roadmap, for chemical industry. Thanks to CICM, Petronas, MITI, MIDA, NPC, MATRED, all these agents have come together. There are at least 5 aspirations for this chemical industry roadmap. And most important, most importantly, these 5 aspirations, I think improving sustainability is one of it. And another one is to increase product competitiveness, to produce better products, to engage new technology, and so on. And they have identified 3 priority sectors in this chemical industrial road map. And those will be like base chemicals and intermediates, polymer and plastics, and specialty chemicals. So specialty chemicals is very important in terms of, it has got higher margin. So Malaysia is looking into deepening our ability in producing specialty chemicals. So this chemical industry roadmap could be an important legislation for chemical industry. So it will be launched soon. I believe that Dr. Hafiz knows about it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so my next question is about the S part of the ESG. I think we've talked a lot about the environment part. Now, with regards to the social part, there've been a lot of conversations, talking about in any industry really, especially for industry which employs a lot of people in terms of focus on health and safety, in terms of inclusivity, in terms of fair pay, and the rest of it. So if I can get a view from representatives from CICM, how do these topics, this point gets managed within the industry? Are there certain guidelines which basically compels the player to adopt best practice standards with regards to treatment of workers?
I'll start, and I think I'll have Paul continue because of his passion. One of the codes of responsible care is employee health and safety. And under that code, we have what I call principles to ensure that all those people they're involved in the chemical industry are quote unquote protected and guarded. So we have those key learnings from other countries, and also based on years of responsible care work that people can then adopt to move forward on the social front. Paul, yeah, I know. Go ahead, Paul. Unmute, Paul.
The S&G out of ESG is incredibly important. Let's be very clear. It doesn't matter what sort of manufacturing or business you have. You can only operate if you have license, in inverted commas, from the local community. The local community will allow you to work or make it very difficult for you to work. And therefore, as a manufacturing organization in chemicals, we have to. And I think, Nick, you said very clearly, pressure. And to me, that is the pressure. The pressure comes from the local community. Are they happy to have you there? And you have to spend time and effort, even if you're a small organization or a larger organization, to spend time and effort and management on that area. So that's the social side. In terms of governance, we must be checked. We should have the legislation authorities coming around and checking us. But also, what we have in the chemical industry is we have our own responsible care program, which has its own internal auditors. we as members of CICM and signatures of RCP are expected to, one, report on what we're doing. This isn't an end game and ticking the boxes. This is a journey, that continual improvement. And we must show that we're doing that to the industry. And secondly, we have to ensure that we report internally to make sure that we reach the standards required. So overall, S&G are really part of the Responsible Care Program. And, you know, at the initial signatory of the Responsible Care Program in Malaysia, I've been with it for a few years now, and I believe in it. And I think it is actually a program that can be adjusted for other industries as well. It's such a good program. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Paul. So, Paul, you mentioned about various oversights and structure which the industry have. You mentioned internal audit, reporting, and so on. You know, my question goes to Dr. Lee, and the question is: do you think this level of oversight is applied consistently between the bigger players and also the smaller players? Because, you know, looking at it from the perspective of a public, typically you get the perception that the MNCs typically have better resources, you know, more structure and oversight, the rest of it. I mean, is this statement rings any truth at all? Or what is your view, Dr. Lee?
Okay, thank you, Nick, for the questions. So we can see that there's a gap, right, in terms of the capacity and the expertise between the SMEs and the MNCs. I think over here, the MNCs plays a very big role, especially in championing the sustainability, because they can actually influence the entire supply chain, right? This entire value chain where there has a lot of suppliers coming from the SMEs, right, to adopt, right, the sustainability practices. So through this opportunity, I think the SMEs can actually take up the challenge where they can learn about how to adopt all these the green technologies, right, to become the more social engaging in terms of their operations and dealing with all the activities at the local communities. I think SME should also play a very crucial role here, right, to work and collaborate with the MNCs, right, as well as the other researchers out there, right, to actually, right, to do the research and how to improve their processes as well as their management model, right. That's all from me, Nick.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. So building on what you say there, you know, in terms of collaboration, are there many opportunities for SMEs to collaborate with the larger players to basically learn about, you know, the leading practices and so on? Does anybody would like to take that question? How do we address these gaps between the bigger and the smaller players?
I would take that, Nick. Just to mention about our recent CICM activity. But again, going back, I have to mention responsible care again. I have to echo Dr. Hafiz and Paul Ellis's comments on this. Responsible care actually originated when an incident happened to a big company, Union Carbide. The Bhopal incident in India, where thousands died in 1984 or 1984-85, that prompted the chemical industries to come together to learn from the experience, and from there, responsible care was born. This is way back in 1985. Coming down to where we are today, as I said, CICM, we have members who are the MNCs, the bigger companies, and also the smaller size companies. We have this mentor-mentee program, which we have promoted amongst our members. But as recent as last year, end of last year, we have produced a document to make responsible care easier understood by the smaller companies. And the document is ready. We have collaborated with the the Malaysian Productivity Corporation, and both we have managed to produce a document which will be made available to any company. They can approach us or MPC and to know more about responsible care and it will be free advice to them and how to adopt it. So this is one way where we will provide a platform where the experience of the bigger companies are filtered down to help the smaller companies also manage the environment, the employees, the public, in short, sustainability issues in a better way. So that's what we have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato'. Okay, so I'm looking at the list of questions from the audience. It seems that the topic of chemical roadmap is one of interest. There are a lot of questions on this topic. So I have one person asking, when will the chemical roadmap be rolled out? Can you expand further about this roadmap? What does it contain? The essence of it. Would one of you like to take that question?
Like I mentioned, sorry, Nicole, thank you for the question. Like I mentioned earlier, it's still work in progress, and Uma also mentioned that it hopefully will be rolled out soon. And the key word is soon, because I can't tell you when soon is. The minute it is rolled out, teams, especially from CICM, is already in place to work on the task that has been decided that we will working on, and in totality, it will be engaging the industry players, both multinational as well as SMEs, for their inputs and figure out how to move forward on those four or five items that we wanted to address under the CIR. So that's one angle, and I concur with everybody. We are all waiting for the so-called launch, which I was told it will be launched soon, and I know it's soon, and let's hope it doesn't go beyond March, put it that way.
Okay, that's great. I'm just wondering, would that, if we look at what's happening in other industry, for example, in the plantation sector, especially for export-oriented industry, it's not just about complying with local rules, it's also about looking at how other jurisdictions view that particular topic in terms of labor rights, in terms of environment, and the rest of it. So my question to you, representing the chemical manufacturing industry, do you think there will be, as an export-oriented industry, do you think there'll be a lot of pressure from foreign jurisdictions about any of this topic, especially with regards to labor rights?
I'm not going to deny there would not be a lot of pressure on that one. Suffice to say, I think if you are a responsible cash signatory, that will not be an issue. Okay, if you go on that basis, because our codes clearly spelled out that you have to do it in accordance to the proper setup that we have. I'm a bit concerned about trying to address this forced labor thing openly right now, because I think the essence of all our players in the chemical industry, which also include rubber gloves, okay, they are also be constituted as a chemical industry player too, if you think about it from that angle, okay? But most importantly, I think from an industry perspective, majority of the chemicals that are produced in Malaysia are actually meant for export. Okay, so we have by definition or whatever, we need to be in compliance with whatever destination that we're going to export the product to. And that guideline will be set by those respective countries. So
Great, thank you. So from what I hear is that there is already a framework to ensure that industry players comply with these expectations. But my question is, from the perspective of supervisory role, or from the perspective of compliance monitoring, who plays that role to ensure that everyone, all the key players, basically comply or conform with these expectations? Are there any agencies that ensure that this is being met?
If I may, I think what Dato' Hafiz, I would echo what he says. It's more like self-regulated. You see, nobody needs to regulate you because there's no way you can enter into the global market if you do not meet the requirements of your importer, you see. So this kind of compliance is quite self-regulated, so the companies will have to meet the requirements of the market that purchases their products. So we do not have besides our Department of Environment, we do not have imposed such conditions, and we have this responsible care, which I think it's kind of a voluntary initiative.
Right. Okay, so we are getting almost to the end of our session, 4 more minutes to go. So within that space of time, what I would do is, if I can invite each of you to provide a 1-minute summary to encapsulate your point of view during this session. Maybe if we can start with Dr. Lee, and then we can go to CICM, and then finally Umar. So Dr. Lee, can you summarize, please?
Okay, thanks, Nick. Right, so like what we had mentioned earlier on during the past 1 hour or so, so we can see that the ESG and accessibility is the buzzword for the upcoming few years that we need to actually work on it. Right, so not only in the industries, I think the entire nation, right, is looking to how to drive the economy in a more sustainable way. Right, so the current government is actually looking into how to drive the sustainability in a whole of nation approach, right? Which I think is all the players within the triple helix model that I mentioned earlier on, the government, the industries, and the academia, as well as the local community, probably the quadruple helix, where we can work together to actually look into the solutions, to look into the current issues, and how to actually drive them towards a more sustainable by leveraging the localized technology, right? Working with the foreign investors on how to drive a more sustainable economics, right? So I think over here, the main keyword I would like to mention again is the collaboration, right? I have mentioned a few times. I think I'd like to stress over here collaborations between all players and how to drive the country economics to a better and more progressive country. Right, thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Dato Hafiz, your view, please.
My comment is this: please don't wait until an accident happened and somebody lost their lives. And to me, that is just too big a burden for everybody, especially us in the chemical sector. Therefore, I think by whether we like it or not, we need to be able to continue our operation in a sustainable manner, following the principles of, in our case, responsible care, in ensuring that we do move forward well. Other than that, to me, I echo what Dr. Lee is saying. To me, collaboration not only with the government agencies, academia, but I think also within the community. Collaboration needs to be wholesome in order for us to just move forward with this. And to all those involved in the chemical sector, please come to the CICM if you do need some guidance or support in order for you to move forward with this.
Thank you, Dato. Next, Paul, your summary, please.
You're on mute, Paul.
I'm there. I'm back again. Thank you, Nick. Very quickly, there are 2 really big ways forward. There is the chemical roadmap, which is our Malaysian way forward and covers this sustainability. And the second area is, I will back up Datuk on responsible care program. It really is a very good program. Please use it. And the last thing is, the banks can help us. As we're being supported by the bank today, I think I should say that, right? The banks can be of great help to us, right, as part of the whole scheme. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Dato Mohtar.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I'm really glad that we are talking to the bank is coming up with this platform to talk about sustainability. We have legislators, government agency who include sustainability and environmental issues into roadmaps. And we at CICM, we have been saying this for the last 20 over years, I mean, to our members. These are the fundamental holistic way of looking at things, how to do things. My wish is that apart from looking at investments or new businesses, new opportunities in terms of dollars and cents, profits, return to shareholders, return on investment and so on, we should look at also rewarding on incentives taken to take care of on ESG issues, environmental issues and so on. There has to be some kind of value to be tagged into this. I think Umar is aware. We spoke to MIDA to just put some incentive for new investments to at least mention responsible care, for example, to be looked at favorably if there are investors coming in with this to commit themselves to responsible care, for example. And we wish the bank will also do that, and encourage these soft issues, in inverted commas, to be put at the forefront alongside the dollars and cents that's coming along with new approvals, whatever you need to do to encourage investment. We are all for investment, but in a responsible way, and not just look at dollars and cents. So that's how I want to put it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. And finally, Uma.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I think I will have to mention about the launching of the CIR, since it was just left like that. We are targeting the first quarter of 2022 to launch it, and that's coming soon. So there could be because it has already been at steering committee level. Okay. Besides that, I also want to reiterate the message that our manufacturers are relying on international market, and 60 to 70% of our trading partners are committed to carbon neutrality. So it has become like our major markets like China, Singapore, US, European Union, so on. So it has become an important thing that businesses are mindful that their business practices move towards sustainable practices. So with that, thank you so much. I enjoyed the session today. There was so much was shared today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it is definitely exciting. I wish we had more time to cover, more questions, but, all good things have to come to an end. So with that, firstly, before I close this session, I would like to thank all of you, panel speakers, Umar, Dr. Lee, Dato' Hafiz, Paul, and Dato' Muhtar, for providing your valuable insights and point of view. Really enjoyed listening to your experience and your points. Number two, I would like to thank all of the audience for sending us the questions and also for participating in this session. We really appreciate it. And finally, thank you to Hong Leong Bank for organizing this and also for inviting me and the rest to this session. So with that, I would just like to say thank you very much. All of you have a great day and take care. Right? Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.